Reporting for Mobile Maine News, I'm Sam Bargar. Reporting for Mobile Maine News, I'm Sam Bargar. Reporting for Mobile Maine News, I'm Sam Bargar. I'm Sam Bargar, and I'm here at the Sawyer Environmental Research Center at the University of Maine, where a team of researchers are trying to identify the environmental consequences of the use of road salt. Although this chemical may keep Maine roads safe, the risk may outweigh the reward. The research for the Maine Road Salt Risk Assessment Project is reviewing policy options related to the use of road salt in Maine. John Peckinham, Assistant Director of the George J. Mitchell Center for Watershed Research, is quite the expert when it comes to this common melting solution.
Road salt, it's also called rock salt. It's a very simple chemical, sodium chloride, same as our table salt. And what it does is it lowers the freezing point. So what that means is if there's snow and ice on the road, it causes it to melt.
The project's extensive research has showed John that this simple chemical may be harmful.
Fortunately, there's always trade-offs on anything, in that the roads are cleared for safety for people traveling, for all of us that drive. But in this case, 100% of the salt that's put down on the road surface ends up in the environment. It lands on the road, does its thing, and then it gets carried off into the landscape. So the soil's affected, water's affected.
The current economic recession has affected public schools all over the nation. Public schools in the state of Maine have also had to face many cutbacks. School departments, large and small, are all focused on saving money. Small school systems such as Orono deal with these problems on a smaller scale, but with a similar outcome. The superintendent of Orono Schools, Kelly Clenchy, presented the 2009-2010 budget to the school committee, and the word decrease was used quite often. The biggest decrease on the budget was the funding of technology among the system. Clenchy said that while students' access to computers is important, it's just not feasible.
And I would hate to be in that position to downsize staffing positions and commit $160,000 to funding laptops when we're decreasing our staff. So it's just not as clean as I would like it to be. Disappointed I am, but at the same time, I just really don't feel that we could do this without putting our system at risk, because the future is so unpredictable in terms of the economy.
The Bargar School Department, which is one of the largest in the state, is also doing what they need to do to save money. Superintendent of the Bargar school system, Betsy Webb, said that a budget freeze was the only option when the economy began to slide.
We saw early last fall that the economy was going to be struggling, and therefore we put in a budget freeze. The revenue forecasting last fall made it clear that the state was going to be without the revenues that they had anticipated for the budget. So we put in a budget freeze October 1 and included with it a hiring freeze. Only essential positions and essential academic expenditures were allowed.
Superintendent Webb also said that Bargar is taking the steps to save money without cutting programs.
What we did last fall is we brainstormed with all employees about what are some of the things that we can do to save costs. And we have implemented those things like dressing in layers, keeping the thermostat lower, using natural light whenever possible, making sure to pull shades, making sure to conserve on paper. People are committed to double-side printing and not printing everything, So we've done all those little things that often can add up to quite a bit.
Just like every family and every business, public schools in the state of Maine are feeling the effects of the recession. Where a quality education is the first priority at most schools, cutbacks may be the only option to sustaining that quality. Reporting for Mobile Maine News, I'm Sam Bargar. The most exciting part about going away to college is the opportunity to live on your own. Students at the University of Maine have plenty of options when it comes to choosing a residence. However, in these tough economic times, are those options just not there anymore? Director of Student Housing at UMaine, Jennifer Moreau, says that on-campus housing is actually filling up at a record rate.
Well, I've only been doing the housing piece since October. However, when I announced to other, staff, we filled up at room selection. There was some surprise, so maybe that didn't happen last year. Maybe there was still space available, but not this year.
Student housing is thriving because of the fact that more Maine residents are choosing to stay in state.
If a student in Maine, a high school student in Maine, is debating whether to go here or to go out of state, most likely the decision will be made based on financial aid packages, you know, who has the best deal, and obviously the tuition here would be less.
The owner of KC Management, Chad Bradbury, runs the largest off-campus housing operation in Orono. Bradbury owns more than 100 properties in the UMaine area, and he says that while leases are still being signed, he has noticed that some students are struggling with payments.
Yeah, some are struggling, and the ones that, you know, a lot of kids have the loans and stuff, but some students come in that are struggling, and you do hear the stories of, you know, my parents have been laid off, or my parents are struggling, so that ripple effect has hit us.
Whether you prefer on-campus or off-campus housing, it is expensive. And with tuition at an all-time high and the economy at an all-time low, UMaine Housing is fortunate to have not felt a major impact. Reporting for Mobile Maine News, I'm Sam Bargar.